Over the years, Glenn Shea has heard many stories.
Former frontline Koori Youth Justice worker with Wotherong Aboriginal Cooperative.
The stories have been historical, contemporary, enlightening, touching, harrowing, and even shocking.
It's quite interesting actually, because I was legally born in the courthouse right here as Glenn Shea.
But Glenn is not the sort of person to let his stories stay untold.
I do have my birth name and I do have my skin name.
His unique skill set has allowed him to develop some special ways to make this happen.
It's probably been a decade in the making in regards to my work in secure welfare and also in running leadership programs out in communities, and then, you know, being brought back to Wotherong, Geelong by, you know, Anne-Marie and the Geelong Regional LEN in regards to a part of their strategic plan in implementing a leadership program. So coming back and continuing to build a program that I've been working on, which became the LEN Leadership course, which was delivered over 12 weeks to Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal students from the Drysdale Community Centre, and then presenting it in GPAC and the Blakiston Theatre, was the beginning of this journey.
Glenn is also an historian, actor, playwright, teacher and educator who lives and breathes a strong sense of Aboriginal place and belonging.
Building the Wotherong Education and Development Program, full-time program for our Aboriginal adolescent young people who weren't engaged in employment, education and training, and then you know, constantly being challenged by them in regards to their identity, place and belonging. So our young people identifying really strongly as Aboriginal, but lacking that knowledge and understanding of who they were as Aboriginal people, a part of society, and, you know, their engagement in culture.
Born and raised in the Geelong region, he knows the stories and history of not only the local Wotherong people, but also that of Aboriginal people across the continent. It's their stories he wants to tell.
And so I built them a 10-day cultural gathering camp around the boundaries of Wotherong. And it was whilst I was designing the camp that at 2 a.m. in the morning, the design for the Storyteller popped up as an organic idea.
Had a great time playing it. It's been very relaxing and easy, and you know, generates a lot of natural discussion.
We actually got surprisingly competitive very quickly.
It took 5 years to put together, to structure it so that, you know, the Storyteller came from, or comes from, a generic and non-political perspective.
One of the things that I wanted to get out of it was whether we could use it with our younger clients at the legal service, whether it would be of any value to them, and because the information on it is culturally appropriate but generic, it is useful across all communities.
We're creating Indigenous economic development out of it now.
Glenn's game has already been used across a wide range of community groups. They include primary and secondary schools, universities and an enormous range of government departments and non-government organisations.
Because I'm teaching different age levels across from youth right up to adults, I can see how I can modify the game for the younger students and really get them involved, but also perhaps use some of the older students to come and deliver with me.
I'm looking to sell it across the state.
I'm a teacher educator, yeah, so okay. I'm looking at the uses for this in teaching and learning for not just children but also for pre-service teachers.
In the past few years, Glenn has expanded his storytelling into the world of theatre. To help produce the play, The Three Magpies, Glenn has enlisted the help of an old colleague, Julian Merrick.
I was doing another production with Glenn, Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party, with an Aboriginal cast, and Glenn was in it. And I think he may have shown me a TV series that he was writing about his experiences as a Koori Youth Justice worker here in Geelong. And I remember looking at that and going, well, I don't really understand much about television. And he had been telling me, you know, some of the things that had happened. And eventually I turned around to him and said, why don't you write it out, you know, between shows when we're running the birthday party, And if you're done by the end of the run, I'll read it. Thinking, to be honest, that would be the last I'd hear about it. Anyway, come closing night, he was like, well, I've done it, here it is.
I have lived and seen the world, travelling a lonely road. I've been many things, though at times I did not know who I was. I have lived in the depths of hell, fighting demons too many to count. So I wake up in the morning and accept the challenge of a brand new day, not knowing what it will bring.
I love this place. I love the water and the breeze as it whips in from the ocean. I love the sunrise and the colour that lights up the morning sky. I love hearing the crashing of the waves as they hit the shore, and the wind as it dances through one of the oldest instruments in the world.
The stories in the play are quite tough. They're hard to hear in many ways. And then to put those kinds of stories within a play and then to present it to a group of people who know stories like that as a play is, you know, potentially a very challenging thing.
All you're going to hear is the stories I have lived. You can analyse them, dream them, replay them, but you will never know the dark side of our reality until you understand them.
Now teamed with the Geelong Local Learning and Employment Network, or GRLLEN, Glenn has been able to tell his stories to an even wider audience. The GRLLEN helps organise cultural awareness days where Aboriginal stories and history come to life in walks on country, the playing of the game, and the performance of the play The Three Magpies. The walks on country are led by Aboriginal elder David Tournier.
I get to go outside, walk on country and explain to people, you know, the importance of country, the plants, the animals, you know. So, and ignorance only creates stupidity. So in order to break down barriers, it's better off to educate people so they're not misconstruing things, you know. And it gets rid of those stereotypes that people tend to come up with.
For now, the end to Glenn's story is still untold. The game is in production and continues to arouse interest from an increasingly diverse audience. It's hoped that the Three Magpies may tour next year, and Glenn, ever enthusiastic to tell his stories to a wider world, keeps on listening, researching, recording, and importantly, telling stories.